And there's intimacy on the radio, and there's naturalness on the radio that can never be replicated on TV. The marvelous resurgence of radio as a political force in this country.
News-related radio programming is evolving.
There's a huge hole in our dialogue that can be filled by the synthesis of traditional radio and the freedom that comes from a live podcast. You're about to experience Cowboy State Politics live. Here we go. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to another tremendous installment from very high above all the puerile and insipid forms of Wyoming mainstream media. This is Cowboy State Politics. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, firmly ensconced behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone and broadcasting to you from the depths of the Middle Swamp in Wyoming's capital of Cheyenne. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. Happy Monday. Now, as you all may have already realized, that I don't normally do a program on Monday. The live show is Tuesday through Friday, but I thought, being the sixth day of the legislative session, that I would just take a few minutes and talk to you about what's going on this morning. So it is the budget session. However, they really won't be talking about the budget that much today. There's a ton of bills that they've got to get through. And so second reading on the budget will be tomorrow. And if you remember, if you can get in the Wayback Machine and go back 2 years to 2024, now I forget the exact number, but there was something like 180 different amendments that were going to be made to the budget. As of yesterday, it was around somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 amendments, and that's only going to multiply. Now, here's what, and here's why I wanted to come on this morning and just talk to you real quick, because in the budget, the budget session, they'll introduce it, which they did last week. That's what happened on Friday, and that's why all those bills died that hadn't been introduced yet, because there are deadlines that have to be met in the legislative calendar. And so they finished the budget discussion 6 p.m. on Friday. Actually, it was like 5, and then they went in and introduced a couple of bills. And then today, they're not going to talk about second reading on the budget. They're going to go through what's called Committee of the Whole on a whole bunch of bills. And if you look, and where to find that is you go to wyledge.gov, and let me just walk you through there so I'm actually telling you right. So you go to the legislative website, which is wyledge.gov, and you go down to opening page. In the bottom portion of it on the left-hand side, there's a section called Calendars. And right underneath it, you'll see where it says Legislative Meetings. Now, this will tell you all of the meetings that are scheduled for that particular day. And in the case of today, there's, of course, a House and Senate floor session. Both of those start at 10. And then you've got a number of committees, and it will tell you which committees are meeting and which bills they're going to discuss. And as you can see, there's not a lot of them. And that's, part of that is there have been a lot of bills that have been killed this session. So honestly, the biggest portion of what they're going to be talking about is the budget session, which I know there were some pieces of legislation that a lot of us were looking forward to listening to seeing go through the process, but it's not necessarily a bad thing that the only thing we're talking about is the legislative budget. You know, often on the program, you'll hear me whine and complain how we're passing 600 different laws a year and not repealing a single one of them. Well, in a way, it's kind of a good thing that a lot of those bills got killed, simply because sometimes, my friends, gridlock is good. Like, our government was never set up to be one that acts quickly or that is able to push things through. When that happens, we end up with things like Obamacare. You remember that one? That one was rammed through in the middle of the night during Christmas. So we don't want that to happen. And one of the ways that that gets prevented is through gridlock. Now, I do have a little video for you from the Judiciary Committee, and I believe it was on Friday, and it's Landon Brown. Now, of course, if you look at the Open Range Record, there's an article on the front page of the Open Range Record about Mr. Brown taking a campaign donation. But he, every session, there's a number of shenanigans that guy engages in. And this session is no different. So I want to play for you what he said in Judiciary, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. Let's see here. Local video. Okay, show prep. So like I said, I made the decision to come online and talk to you this morning pretty quickly. So things are a little hectic. But here is Landon Brown in the Judiciary Committee. And just listen to the reason he gives for testifying in front of the committee. Just listen to it, and then we'll talk about it.
I appreciate your time and your opportunity to speak on behalf of this bill. Landon Brown, Representative House District 9 here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and appreciate. And I also feel like she kind of stole my thunder. The DA just brought up a few of the points that I was a little concerned about personally on this particular bill. There's been a lot of discussion over this bill over the past interim. Watched it very closely, watched the news articles, watched you guys deliberate on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah.
Remember this bill coming through last year. Supported the bill as it came through last year.
Right.
And I think you guys did some good work. However, I think that there's a few areas that need to be tightened up and cleaned up. And my biggest concern, and the reason why I voted against introduction on this bill, be very clear about this, is when we have tried in the past to amend bills that are very close and dear to individuals, we have been pushed back against very heavily when we're trying to make a bill better.
Hold the phone. Wait a minute. Just wait a minute. So the whole reason that Landon Brown voted against House Bill 9, which was the one of the protection of kids bills, is he couldn't pass any amendments. Because, when we've tried to make a bill better, well, there's just been so much pushback. You mean like, I don't know, the last 20 years before conservatives took power? How difficult do you suppose it was for conservatives to get legislation through the House of Representatives? How hard did you have to try, Landon? Well, you wouldn't know, because pretty much the redcoat majority in both chambers pretty much shut conservatives out of just about every discussion. Now, that's not to say that they weren't absolutely able to get some bills through. For instance, we've got the SEPA bill through, which that's an interesting story that's developing that I'm going to talk about on tomorrow's show. But anyway, Landon says the reason why he voted against the bill to even be introduced, and this is the key, this is the linchpin here, my friends. So on House Bill 9, Landon Brown voted against it on introduction. That means he voted against even the possibility of discussing it. And so when he tells the committee, well, the reason I voted against the bill is, we were just unable to pass any amendments. Well, the truth of the matter is he wasn't able to pass. No one was able to pass any amendments on it at the stage he voted against it, because it was just introduction. Now, here's why I'm bringing this up, is because truth matters. That we have to take what people say and figure out whether what they're saying is the truth or not. There's been a lot of bullcrap floating around about various bills, and we have to get to the bottom. If we're going to craft like quality legislation, we have to deal in facts. We can't deal in hyperbole or just things that are flatly not true. And so Landon Brown, he goes to the Judiciary Committee and he tells them something that is absolutely not true. Now, does it matter? I think it does, because it tells you exactly, who Landon Brown is. But again, this may be a little out of character for Mr. Landon Brown, because, he's actually a Reagan Republican. Listen to this.
Just no matter what you say and or do, they're going to see it as a traitor, or they're going to see it as somebody that
went against what, like you just said, the party is always watching. And I claim myself to be very much a Ronald Reagan-esque Republican. I don't fall in line with today's.
He's a Ronald Reagan-esque Republican. Landon Brown votes with the Democrats almost more than anybody else in the House of Representatives. It's almost 80% of the time. So a lot of what comes out of his trap is not true at all. And you really got to be careful listening to what he says. Now, he's also one of those folks that he'll be in front of a camera or on social media at the drop of a hat. And he's not the only one. You have to be very, very skeptical of what all of these people say. And I'm not just talking about the other side. I'm talking about our side too. We have to hold our side accountable for the things that they say and, for what they do. And if we don't do that, well, then we're no better than the other side. So that was part of the reason why I wanted to come on this morning. And the other part is just to kind of give you a rundown of what's happening in the session. And let me get back to that session schedule, and I'll just tell you the bills, because I know a lot of people have traveled a long ways to testify in front of the committee. So let me just give you kind of the rundown. So on general file, which is the first, it's called Committee of the Whole. It's the first time a bill gets debated on the floor of either the House or the Senate. Now, there's one bill in particular, and let me just give you the rundown. So the first one up is capital construction, and then there's the Filers Permits Act, sexually explicit materials in libraries. That's House Bill 10. That's important. That one's talking about, and I've been talking about this a lot for years on the program, that the truth is we have books in libraries that are absolute pornography, some of which are in the children's section of the library. So that one already passed committee. It's going to be up on Committee of the Whole this morning. It's near the top, so my guess is somewhere around 10 o'clock. The Wyoming Rural Health Transformation Program, that is the, I believe that's the one for the, let's just take a look at it real quick. So House Bill 122 is what it is. And it says an act relating to federal rural health transformation funds, establishing the Wyoming Rural Health Transformation Program, creating an advisory committee, creating a perpetuity fund, authorizing investments as specified, and creating an expenditure account. Okay, so it's just the president's rural health care fund, which I don't know if I'm opposed to it or not. I'll have to dig into the bill. There is the corner crossing clarification bill that was coming out of Travel and Recreation. House Bill 22, recall of elected municipal officers. This one's important. I believe this one is Scott Heiner's bill. Yeah, it is. And because right now there's no way for any really to recall any politician. There was, if you have a commission-style government, but we really don't have those anymore. And so this bill would allow for the recall of municipal officers. And then the one that I've been looking at this morning is participation in 6 through 12 activities. And this one is so that homeschool kids can participate in activities. Now, the argument from the Education Association is, well, they're not part of the school district. Why should we let them participate in activities? Well, I mean, they're not even, we don't get their ADM. We don't get any, well, you see, actually schools do. So even if your kids aren't registered in public school, you still pay taxes. You still have to pay property taxes. And so your money goes into paying for everybody else to participate in school activities. This is another case of you being taxed and not being able to participate in your government. And if your homeschool kids can't participate in activities, then you're absolutely paying for stuff that, you literally cannot participate in. So I'm watching that bill. Other than that, there's a lot of different things, even though there was several bills killed, there's a lot of different things to watch. So here's my suggestion to you. Get on the legislative YouTube page and watch the session. There's several committee meetings that are up today, and there's lots of several bills that are important that are going through, and watch the floor session today. And that's what I'm going to do, my friends. So this is just a quick update of what's happening today in the legislative session. And I'll be back tomorrow for Cowboy State Politics Live, a full 1 hour episode Don't forget about the roundup, which is going to happen tonight at 7 o'clock on the Open Range Record. And I've already got a couple of articles queued up to publish on the Open Range Record this morning. So don't forget about that. All right, so quick and dirty episode. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow. But for now, from the depths of the Middle Swamp in Wyoming's capital of Cheyenne, I'm David Iverson, and I'll see you tomorrow, my friends.